of a toy, it was a car that was that sold at, what's that place called that's closed now? That wonderful toy
Toys R
store.
Us.
Toys R Us, yeah. I was on the cover of this box, and then I started doing, like more serious commercials. Somebody actually just sent me a couple of them. I have a Dentine commercial. I have a Colgate commercial that they found. They have a TWA Airlines commercial of me. So cute. Oh my gosh. I'll send them
Uh,
to you. Um,
yeah.
and then finally, I just got the audition for As the World Turns to play Paul Stenbach, which is Barbara Stenbach's son. Big character. He was actually on the show for the entire rest of the run of As the World Turns, but I was the first. And I did that for years. And then one day Cujo came up. I got the audition for that, landed that. And then the producers of Who's the Boss saw me in Cujo and asked me to audition for Who's the Boss, and I landed that. It just, it was just kept going.
And I'm sure like at that time you didn't appreciate like, wait, you just don't go on auditions and get the job. I mean, it seems like that's how it was working at that point.
Yeah, I had no context. I thought, oh, okay, does everyone get the job when they go into audition for it? Like it just, and it made the post Who's the Boss time of auditioning that much harder because I never really learned the business of being an actor. I'd show up, I'd get the job. So when that stopped happening, it was really hard, and I didn't understand. Um, and then there was a lot more happening in terms of like the Jonathan Bauer stereotype, and the whole idea of everyone knew I was gay long before I did. So trying to audition to play these like young jock characters, just it wasn't gonna happen. And I didn't understand at the time. I thought, gosh, I'm trying really hard, and I'm giving you my best. And I think producers and casting were probably like, yeah, no.
Like, so,
I
sorry,
had no
sweetie.
context for it.
What about, like when you were on Who's the Boss, like when did you realize? Because, like, right, your parents put you in it. Here you are, you're booking those auditions. Now you're on Who's the Boss. Like, when did you realize, like, A, this is actually work? Like, this isn't like, and did you ever during Who's the Boss? I mean, it was 8 years, like, you grew up on that show. Did you ever say, like, wait, like, look at what my friends are doing? They're all playing, they're not working, I'm tired. Or, like, did you ever question, like, I don't know if I want to do this? Because you didn't really make the decision for yourself day one.
Yeah, no, definitely not. My mom did have this thing that she would do where every couple of times, especially in New York, we had a long drive into Manhattan. So on the drive, she would say, "Okay, are you still having fun? Do you still want to do this? Because if you don't, I'm totally fine with not doing this anymore." So I really appreciate her for that. But yeah, of course, we get to Who's the Boss, and suddenly I'm working consistently, and I loved it. Like I loved every minute of it. They treat child actors really well on these shows, and my parents were great about like if I did a great job that week, I could get a great toy, or and I had never really been because I'd been working since before starting actual school. I'd never really been to a school for more than a couple of days to get some work, or what they would do is the teachers would give me like a packet of homework for the week, and I would do that on set whenever I had time. So I didn't really have a context for, oh, I'm missing out on what my friends are doing. And I did have a few friends, so I was able to like hang out with them when I could. But what I did differently than I don't think actually I've ever heard of another child actor doing this is very early on in the show, my parents figured out that the sort of child celebrity downfall thing was already happening, and they tried to figure out what was the cause, like what was the root cause of that, and how could we prevent that from happening to him. And it was really clear. The cause was that these child actors had nothing to fall back on. The day the show ended, they were lost. There was nowhere for them to go. They weren't going to get another job for a while. They were stereotyped as whatever role they played. And that just, spirals into a whole mess mentally for the actor. And sooner or later, all hell breaks loose. So my parents said, how can we prevent that from happening? And what we did was we went to the producers of Who's the Boss, and we said, or they said, he's going to go to regular actual high school or he's not coming back to Who's the Boss. So we found a high school in LA that was willing to let me go to school from 8:15 first period through fifth period. and then I would drive to work. So every day for the last like 5 years of Who's the Boss, I went to school every day, went to work, an hour drive to set. They would skip my scenes until I got there. We would rehearse, then I'd go home and I would do all of my homework. I was in all the AP classes. I had a 4.8 GPA at one point and just did it all again the next day. So why that was so successful is that the day the show ended, I just went to school for the rest of the day. And I had 2 more years of high school, and I, got into Stanford University, and so I was focused on graduating from Stanford University, and didn't even have time to think about, oh dear me, my career is not going anywhere. It was, oh God, am I going to actually be able to pass these classes at Stanford?
It's shocking that your parents were able to figure that out and like see the trend of like, because right, I mean, I've interviewed many of them that were former child stars from the 80s that have, they're fine
Yeah.
now, but they had that in between complete downfall.
Yeah, and then I've always said that is one of the things that I love about them the most, that they had the foresight to figure out how to make that happen.
Just going to regular high school, who would have thought?
I know, right? I mean, but of course I have a lot of trauma from high school, and that wasn't their fault by any stretch, but when I went to the high school, my goal was to be like just normal. I just wanted to be like every other kid. I did not want to be the celebrity kid. And I never really wanted to be that either. Like I wasn't big on going to the parties, and Alyssa was going to like all the Teen Beat parties and who knows what getting into. And I was just like, it's not really, I'm kind of a nerdy kid. I just want to be a nerdy kid at school. When I got to school for the first like week or two, I was super popular. Everybody wanted to be my friend. And then they realized that I wasn't going to sort of live up to the celebrity hype that they were hoping for, parties at his house and whatever. I mean, whatever they were expecting. And just like instantly, they all dropped me. And in hindsight, I have actually talked to a few of the sort of, jock guys from school, believe it or not, who said that they had already sort of pinned that there was something different about me. And again, I had no idea. So the context for me is that nobody wanted to be my friend and I couldn't figure out why. In hindsight, it was that they, thought that I might be gay or different. And I wasn't living up to the stereotype. So I had some serious trauma from that. For all of seventh and eighth grade, I just walked around during lunch, like looking like I was on my way somewhere, but really just trying to find a little corner to have lunch by myself. It was really awful.
You are preaching to the choir. It takes one to know one, right?
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
look at us now. So,
I
but
know.
yes, high school was not exactly my fun. I live in New York now, but I'm originally from Connecticut. So, suburbs. And yes, it was a different time, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What sticks out? Like, how would you describe your time, like working like with Judith, like you said, and like Tony Danza and Alyssa? Like, just what's the overall, like, what was it like to work with them?
Perfect. Like it couldn't have been a better experience. For all of those years, we really did come together as a family. I mean, we were doing Christmas gifts. I was getting Judith mom like Merry Christmas mom stuff, and I was getting Catherine like uh, grandma stuff, and I loved being there. Alyssa and I had like iffy moments, but that was really just because she was teenager and I was younger brother, and she was just like, get out of here, and slammed the door in my face. Nothing like specifically no malice to it, just older sister younger brother things. And overall it was great. In the final few seasons of the show, some more trauma was created for sure, in that the producers didn't know what to do with me. Here's this sort of little kid who's different and probably gay, and I can just imagine them trying to write scripts and being like, well, we could have him have a girlfriend. And then, they'd probably be like, yeah, no one's going to believe that. And of course, this is all hindsight. Like, I did not understand in the last few seasons why